Welcome back to Why We Buy It. Today we want to talk about the airline we took to Sweden.
And let's be honest, we weren't really expecting much because when we booked this flight, we were looking for the cheapest flight possible with maximum of one stopover. And what we came up with in the end was SAS, Scandinavian Airlines.
Yeah, we were very nervous because we were used to Air Transat when we did a discounted airline. And the service there for us was absolutely terrible that we're probably never going to use them again unless we absolutely have to.
Yeah, no offense to Air Transat or anything, but we had terrible experiences.
Absolutely terrible.
Right? The worst possible situations with Air Transat. So we avoid them as much as possible, but we wanted to save money on the flights, so we thought, let's book cheap.
Yep.
And it came up with SAS. I researched the airline. It had some pretty good reviews recently, although it did come up with the history, which was they had almost gone bankrupt a year before. That didn't leave a
good taste in our
mouths, right? We're like, let's give it a shot. Let's try it out, and we're so glad we did.
From the first step to the very last, I want to say it was my absolute favorite experience. Like first class without paying first class pricing.
It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And when we got to Pearson Airport and we found the SAS section, we came across a representative there, and even though they had like
all the terminals available,
20 of your self check-in terminals available, we said, is this for the international flights? They said, yeah. So we started walking toward a terminal, and we're like, what are you doing? I said, well, we're going to check in. I'm like, well, we have people available at the desk. Just go see one of the humans.
Never happens. Never happens. They always want you to do it yourself.
Because that way, if you make a mistake,
it's on you.
It's on you, right? You don't get to bounce back onto them. But they're like, yeah, go use the person at the check-in desk. We're like, okay. And the first thing that surprised us there is as soon as we gave her our information, the first thing she said was, oh, I see you've booked an accessibility wheelchair for my mother. And that never happens either.
No.
Right?
No.
Even though they have the apps, and on the app, you have to put in that you are mobility impaired and you need this level of accessibility service. With other airlines, it always seems like you have to repeat that process whenever you get to Pearson.
So we find when we go with a lot of other airlines, like we're waiting like an hour for a wheelchair, and it's the most frustrating experience. But before I get into the wheelchair service, just as a note, they are checking your carry-on bags now for weight.
Yeah, they actually asked us, are your carry-on bags 8 kilograms or less? We're like, what? What do you mean? Because they never used to do that, right? They never used to do that. But like, no, so we had to weigh them, and Amy's was just under.
Yeah.
Mine was just over, and I was like, oh shit, we're gonna have to move stuff around. They're like, no, don't worry about it. Between the two of you, it's
fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen either.
No.
Right? Normally, when you're weighing your luggage, if it's even a pound over, it's like $200 charge.
Oh goodness,
so
I know.
They're sorry, you can't do it here while you're here because we gotta keep the lines moving. You got to go to move your luggage around section.
Yeah, and then wait back in
re-weigh
line.
yourself, then get back in line to check your luggage. But they're like, no, you're good.
You're fine.
Again,
easy.
Great.
Very, very smooth thing. Anyways, we're gonna go back to the accessibility. When the lady checked like mom's ticket and said, you need the wheelchair service, there was a gentleman there like within seconds.
Yeah.
Like he was like right there, and we're like, oh, are you picking up for someone else? He's like, no, this is for you. We're like, oh, holy cow!
Crazy
we're like,
fast.
That was so fast. That never happens. And then he actually took us to the flight. Usually what happens to us...
Which was no short feat.
No. So it's like we had to go like, halfway down the airport.
Through security.
Take a 10-minute shuttle bus to the other side of Pearson because it's a international flight and they're usually like way further away. But we're like, okay, he's probably going to take us maybe to the bus. Then he's going to go away.
Maybe. Because usually when you're doing the accessibility thing, what normally happens is the first individual takes you to security.
Yeah.
Then a second individual on the other side of security takes you from there to the next stop point, which in this case would have been the bus.
Yeah.
Then they'd help you on the bus, and when you got off the bus, the third person would take you to the gate.
Right.
This guy went the whole distance.
The whole distance. And then he left us because we got there early. He left us and he goes, don't worry. He's like, I'll be back to help you guys on the plane. We're like, yeah, okay. It's not going to be him. It's going to be some other guy. Right? So we made sure we tipped him before he left. But he was the one that actually came back to help mom on the plane. I'm like, this never happens.
Yeah, so that was fantastic.
It was so smooth.
And then on the plane itself, I mean, it's an Airbus, right? It's 3 seats, aisle 3 seats. It's not the biggest plane, but more than enough leg room for all of us, including my mom. And the food was fantastic.
Yeah. Usually, it's like we always laugh because they always give you those like little buns. And we're like, they're always cold. Everything was hot. Everything was hot. Everything was fresh. I was so impressed. And the staff were phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, top-notch service.
Yeah, we cannot complain
No.
about the Scandinavian Airlines.
No.
I wish we could fly with them everywhere.
Everywhere.
Something I found out from a friend of mine who's in the airline industry is that they used to be called Thai SAS.
Oh, yeah?
They had connection flights back and forth to Thailand all the time. We found a lot of Swedes go to Thailand.
Yes.
I'm guessing that's why. But since the near bankruptcy and such, they've reduced themselves to just SAS now. If they do want to add additional locations and airports to go to, we're thinking Rome would be great.
Yeah, that'd be good because that's where we're going next.
That's where we're going next. So start booking flights to Rome, right? Do us a solid. For those of you that haven't subscribed yet,
95% of you haven't.
shitload of you haven't, it's time to subscribe because we cover everything you want to cover, right? We've got the clothing, we've got the shopping, we've got the travel, we've got the little guy, and of course, if you're a watch fiend
We got
like
the
myself,
watches.
we got the watches. Be sure to subscribe.
Subscribe. Do the thing.
Until next time.